Minnesota Vikings have called a press conference in which they are expected to name Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Brad Childress as their new head coach. We take you now to Vikings headquarters.
Please welcome the new head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Brad Childress.
As steward of this great franchise, I'll do everything I possibly can, along with our staff and players, to bring an NFC championship and a Super Bowl to the people of Minnesota.
With the arrival of Brad Childress, the Minnesota Vikings welcomed their seventh head coach in franchise history.
First order of business as a staff will be creating a winning atmosphere and a can-do attitude throughout players, coach, and staff. To be a great football team in Minnesota, our players will have great discipline within this scheme, offensively, defensively, and within the special teams. I understand the level of commitment it takes from each and every member of the organization to get to that championship level.
Achieving that championship level is Minnesota's lone objective as the Vikings welcome Brad Childress and usher in the dawn of a new day. In 2005, the Vikings evidenced the talent and tenacity needed to compete with the NFL's best.
When we leave here, they gonna respect that purple and go. Let's go, Vikes on three. 1, 2, 3, fight.
Johnson, fade right, caught, touchdown!
He encountered 4 Bears, and he slipped his way into the end zone.
Minnesota earned league-wide respect in 2005 by battling back from a tumultuous 2-5 start with 6 straight wins in the season's second half. Two late-season losses eliminated the Vikings from playoff contention, despite a 9-7 record.
Hit from behind, and it's a fumble, and the Vikings have recovered.
But Minnesota is primed to once again challenge for the postseason, and in 2006, they attack anew.
We'll be like Vikings. We're going to go ashore, burn the boats, and never look back. We're never looking back. Today, we go ashore.
The Minnesota Vikings entered the 2005 season ranked among the NFC's elite. They boasted a returning MVP candidate at quarterback and a revamped defense. But the hope that burned so brightly in the preseason soon slipped away.
He loses the ball, picked up by the Bucs.
The Vikings faltered out of the gates with back-to-back losses.
Unbelievable.
Their high-octane offense yielded only fumes, totaling just 21 points in their first 2 games combined. Minnesota emerged from its funk in Week 3 against the Saints. Dante Culpepper threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Dante deep, left side, single coverage, flag comes in, caught, and it's a touchdown! Culpepper back to pass, into the end zone, right side, caught! Touchdown number 2 for Travis Taylor!
Eweldy Moore added 101 yards on the ground.
Eweldy Moore near side, across the 30.
And Minnesota's defense forced 4 turnovers as the Vikings stormed to a 33-16 home triumph. But the hope rekindled by their Week 3 win quickly slipped away. Minnesota collapsed on both sides of the ball, losing badly in Atlanta and Chicago. The 1-4 Vikings limped home to face the Packers following their bye and continued to slide in the early going. But trailing 17-0 at halftime, Minnesota found new life. Dante Culpepper connected with Marcus Robinson midway through the third quarter.
They left, caught, touchdown!
And with just over 3 minutes left to play, Minnesota claimed its first lead of the game.
Jumps it over the middle. Caught Meweldy. Touchdown! Meweldy Moore's first career touchdown gives the Minnesota Vikings a 19-17 lead.
The celebration was short-lived.
He broke the Vikings' heart twice last year with last-second game-winning field goals, and he just tied this game at 20 with 24 seconds to go.
But the Vikings never flinched.
Need 6, oh, need 6.
Liz screen, double left, Liz screen.
With 24 seconds left, Minnesota moved to the fringe of field goal range with 2 quick completions. Setting up Paul Edinger.
Paul Edinger, he's on to attempt a 56-yard field goal. Snap, low snap, Johnson gets it. Edinger has plenty of leg, and... The Vikings have defeated the Green Bay Packers! Yes!
The afterglow of their stunning come-from-behind win was extinguished the following week. On the final play of the first quarter, Dante Culpepper tore 3 knee ligaments, ending his season. The loss at Carolina, coupled with the loss of Culpepper, threatened to permanently extinguish Minnesota's already dim playoff aspirations. But backup quarterback Brad Johnson stood tall in place of his fallen comrade. Facing Detroit in his first start of 2005, Johnson guided the Vikings offense to a 24-point first-half explosion.
Jets to the left, surges for the end zone.
The offense looked reborn under Johnson's savvy, efficient guidance.
I'll be behind line. I'll be like this, all right?
Somebody make a play, please. Please.
Nate Burleson did just that.
Burleson's opposite R.W. McCorder's. The Lions jump, free play. Johnson smartly fires into the end zone, and it's caught! A tremendous catch by Nate Burleson! He tipped the ball to himself! I think this is back, man.
Holding a 24-7 halftime lead, the defense asserted its big play ability.
Ball and ball out. Ball out on 3. 1, 2, 3. Ball out.
Minnesota amassed 4 sacks and 3 turnovers.
Big rush is on. He dropped the ball. Picked up by Kevin Williams. Vikings ball.
Including 2 interceptions.
Throws it into the end zone. Intercepted by Darren Sharper.
And a 27-14 Week 9 win.
You don't own the town. We're still 3-5. Enjoy it a little bit. Be safe. Take care of each other. And come to work tomorrow doing the little things all week that's going to take for us to go on the road, go to the East Coast, and then really get this thing going, right?
The Vikings kicked off the second half of their 2005 campaign in New York against a Giants team that had beaten Minnesota each of the last 3 years. But not this time. Free agent acquisition Darren Sharper made his presence felt on the first play of the second quarter.
Intercepted by Darren Sharper. He's to the 40. He dinks Eli Manning to the center of the field. Darren Sharper's to the 20. Touchdown! Unbelievable!
4 Minnesota interceptions kept matters close.
Manning looking right, fires over the middle. Up for grabs, intercepted! Sharper has 3 interceptions today!
But with the offense struggling, the Vikings turned to alternate means of scoring, becoming the first team in NFL history to score via interception, kick return,
and Corey Robinson is gone!
and punt return in the same game.
Eagles punt is fantastic. Meweldy Moore fields it at his own 28 center of the field, shakes a man at the 35. Now he heads back to the left, and Meweldy is loose. He shoots Beagles. Joe Stetcher asked for it, and he got it. Touchdown!
Fittingly, with the game tied at 21 in the final minute, Minnesota's fate fell to the foot of another special teamer.
Snap, spot, Edinger with plenty of leg, and it is good!
For Corin Robinson, the return brilliance exhibited against New York was the rule rather than the exception.
You just knew at some time this guy was going to make something happen.
Returning kicks for the first time in his pro career, Robinson averaged 26 yards per return and earned his first trip to the Pro Bowl. The former top 10 pick also showed off his playmaking skills at receiver and will be expected to make an even bigger contribution in 2006. Free agent contributions don't come much bigger than that of Darren Sharper, who earned his third Pro Bowl invitation with an NFC Best 9 interceptions.
Intercepted! It's Darren Sharper, and he's going to fly to his 8th career touchdown!
Since 2000, Sharper has collected 40 interceptions, the most of any active NFL player.
Looking left, steps up, passes over the middle, intercepted! Darren Sharper!
In addition to being one of the league's premier playmakers, Sharper provided proven leadership around which Minnesota's defense rallied in the season's second half.
Sometimes decisions haunt you now. You know that? You make decisions and like to come back to haunt you. Tonight, then we're going to whip their ass. We're going to haunt them.
Facing the Packers on Monday night in Week 11, Darren Sharper made certain to exact revenge against his old team.
Come on now. DB's on 3. 1, 2, 3, DB. You should have dressed out tonight, baby. Hey, you might should have dressed up first today, baby. Let's go 3 and out again, baby. 3 and out. Hey, come on. That's too easy. That's too easy. Second and long, dial up that fish. It don't matter. We're going to make something happen.
Rookie Devontae Edwards made good on Sharper's promise.
Brett Favre fires right, intercepted! It's picked off by Devontae Edwards to the 40, 30, and he is gone! Welcome to the National Football League, Devontae Edwards!
Yeah, I told you to make a play. I told you, boy. Hey, I told you to make a play.
The team's leading rusher in 2005, Neweldy Moore, amassed 122 yards on the ground as Minnesota claimed its first lead early in the fourth quarter.
Snap, spot, kick is good! And the Vikings have taken the lead at Lambeau Field.
But Ryan Longwell even matters with just 3 minutes left to play. For the fourth time in their last 5 meetings, the Vikings and Packers battled evenly into the final minute. And for the second time in 2005, Minnesota got the best of its next-door neighbor.
Fade, right, wide open, caught. Corin Robinson at the 20, to the 15, center of the field, tackle at the 5-yard line. Final play of the game. Here is the side-winding Paul Edinger. Snap, spot, kick is up, and it is good! Paul Edinger did it again, and the Vikings are 5-5.
With 3 straight wins under their belts and back at 500, Minnesota's playoff hopes were revving to life. In Week 12, the Vikings continued to surge on both sides of the ball against the Browns. The defense tallied 5 sacks and 5 more turnovers.
Gilbert looking left, steps up, passes over the middle, intercepted! Darren Sharper!
Brad Johnson officially dissected Cleveland's secondary, spreading the ball around on offense. Until he got to the red zone, where Marcus Robinson supplied all 3 Minnesota touchdowns.
And Johnson fade left, caught Marcus Robinson. He has a hat trick. 3 TDs for Marcus Robinson.
2005 was a year of vindication for Brad Johnson. Just 3 years removed from a Super Bowl win with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Johnson returned as a free agent to his NFL birthplace. Johnson spent the first 7 years of his career in Minnesota, where he twice led the Vikings to the postseason, and emerged from obscurity as a top-flight NFL quarterback. After 6 years in Washington and Tampa Bay, Johnson returned and reminded fans why he's twice been voted to the Pro Bowl.
And what a laser beam shot from Brad Johnson.
In his 9 starts of 2005, Johnson threw just 4 interceptions versus 12 touchdowns.
The five's coming back, you see it? The five's coming back downhill.
He takes care of the ball. He does not turn it over.
By protecting the ball and efficiently guiding the offense, Johnson played an essential role in helping to fuel Minnesota's undefeated November. In Week 13, Johnson showed his versatility, passing up his patented short ball for the home run.
Johnson play action. He goes deep. Right side, single coverage, first play of the game, and it's caught by Corin Robinson at the 30-20. Touchdown! Right out of the gate. Garcia back to pass, blitz is on, and he's hit.
Minnesota's defense was smothering, and tailback Michael Bennett added 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air and 1 on the ground.
Handoff Michael, cuts back to the left of the 5, shoots back to the right. He dodged, touchdown, Michael.
In a 21-16 Vikings win. Minnesota looked to build on its 5-game win streak against St. Louis the following week. And Corin Robinson once again provided a fast start.
Tosses right to Corin Robinson on an end around. Inside the 15, 10, touchdown!
The Vikings produced the league's 2nd most interceptions in 2005 and showed why against St. Louis.
Fires into the end zone. Intercepted by Trent Smoot.
Minnesota's ball-hawking secondary nabbed a season-high 5 interceptions against rookie Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Fired from his own 2. It's intercepted. Antoine Winfield picked it off.
Just like we talked about, how he widened out to the numbers. It came right back. He's going to throw it right after he breaks. You're in perfect position. That was a nice job.
As the Vikings rolled through the Rams 27-13 for their 6th straight win. At 8-5 and with the playoffs a palpable reality, the Vikings stumbled badly, losing at home to the eventual Super Bowl champions.
Come on!
Then again, in Baltimore. Minnesota returned home in Week 17 out of the playoffs, but focused on a strong finish.
Our time to shine. Show people we for real.
Against the playoff-bound Bears, the Vikings accomplished just that.
2nd and 5, handoff Michael Bennett. He's speed by the 50 to the 40. He's inside the 20, and he is gone!
Kevin Williams flashed his finest form, tallying 2 sacks and leading a voracious Vikings defense. The season-ending 34-10 victory was bittersweet. Minnesota earned a winning record at 9-7. But missed the playoffs for the 4th time in 5 years. 5 days after the season finale, Brad Childress was named as new head coach.
Today, it is my honor to welcome Coach Jerry Burns into the Vikings Ring of Honor as we unveil his banner.
Jerry Burns is just the 2nd head coach to be inducted into Minnesota's Ring of Honor.
There's a game ball for the game NFC Coach of the Year.
In 6 seasons at the helm, Burns led the Vikings to 3 playoff appearances and 1 trip to the NFC Championship. Like Jerry Burns, Brad Childress made his name as an offensive coordinator.
It's a 7-man force unit. It's got to come here.
Childress helped the Philadelphia Eagles to 4 straight NFC Championship games and a berth in Super Bowl 39.
Just keep looking side to side, side to side, side to side, all the way, because one of those guys is moving off.
He played an integral role in developing perennial Pro Bowl quarterback Donovan McNabb, and will now turn his attention to veteran Brad Johnson.
First thing he brings is he brings a Super Bowl ring that all of us are striving for, and so he knows what it takes to lead a team to be able to get there.
You're the one in the Super Bowl. You know how many throwaways I had? 51.
He understands what a marathon it is.
51 throwaways. That's a record.
How you have to get incrementally better.
Game day, that's a 50-yarder. April 8th, that's a 43-yarder.
And he understands how to lead.
Big play here, boys.
The 2006 Vikings will feature strong leadership on both sides of the ball.
Watch the stick, watch that stick, watch the stick.
In 9 years as a pro, Darren Sharper has seen a variety of different things. He doesn't get fooled too easily. He's got good instincts.
You watch the drag, Smoot. Watch the drag. I'm coming across.
And he also has a Super Bowl ring, so he appreciates what it takes to get there, what it's going to take, what level a defense has to play at.
You know, this ain't my first rodeo, Mike.
To achieve not only going to the Super Bowl, but winning it.
Yes, dominate on 3. 1, 2, 3, dominate.
By winning 7 of their last 9 games in 2005, the Vikings proved that the pieces are in place to make another postseason push in 2006.
I feel like we've got a good football team, and you need to put playmakers in a position to be able to make plays.
Fires right side end zone, caught, touchdown!
And so that's my job, and that's our coach's job, and we're trying to build this thing with good people that are good players.
Now, it is a matter of realizing that potential.
They let Robinson, caught, touchdown!
New owner Ziggy Wilf has charged first-time head coach Brad Childress with the task of turning potential into production and turning a roster full of promise into a roster full of champions.
I think that they'll be tough-minded. They'll be resilient. They'll be able to overcome adversities that'll happen to them throughout the season, whether it's injuries, whether it's being behind in the game, and they'll have a resolve about them to be able to see the thing through to the end successfully.
Competition is what it's all about. I've never been in a good team that hasn't competed, hasn't had depth, hasn't had somebody pushing somebody, hasn't had a corner talking to a wide receiver that's pushing him.
You know you ain't gonna throw that.
That's what it's all about, compete.
You know better than that.
You gotta be competing animals. You gotta love it every single time we come out here. I don't care if you're pitching pennies with your guy in the locker room, it doesn't make any difference. You gotta be a competing fool in this game. All right? That's gotta ring true for this football team. We're gonna be a bunch of competitors on this football team. We ain't backing away from anything.
Right now, every team in the National Football League, all 32, are talking about the Super Bowl and hope springs eternal.
Here we go, baby. It's about all it's about championship, baby. Championship on 3. 1, 2, 3. Championship.